Okay, let's unpack this. Feeling like the job market is, well, morphing faster than ever.
It really is, isn't it?
You blink, and suddenly there's a whole new tech buzzword or a skill everyone's talking about. Trying to keep up can feel like a full-time job in itself.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
That's why we're here. Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to understanding what truly matters. We sift through the noise, to bring you the crucial insights without burying you in information.
Exactly. Consider this your curated download of essential knowledge. We've immersed ourselves in some really compelling data, specifically with you in mind, to decode what's significant in the world of work.
And today, we're plunging into the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report for 2025. Now, this isn't just someone's opinion piece.
Yeah, not at all.
This is based on a massive survey. We're talking about over 1,000 employers representing more than 14 million workers across, well, a huge range of industries and economies globally.
And they've layered on top of that data from ADP, Coursera, Indeed, and LinkedIn. So it's pretty comprehensive.
Really robust. So our mission today.
It's straightforward. Get a clear picture of the major shifts anticipated in the job market between now and 2030.
Okay.
We'll pinpoint the jobs and skills projected to be most in demand, and crucially, explore what all of this means for you as you navigate your professional journey.
All right, so let's dive right into the big picture. What are the main forces these employers see as fundamentally reshaping the world of work in the coming years?
Well, the report highlights several really transformative trends. What's fascinating is that the trend topping the list, with 60% of employers anticipating a major impact, is the broadening of digital access.
60%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Think about it. This foundational shift towards greater digital connectivity is becoming, well, the bedrock of operations across pretty much all sectors.
That makes complete sense. It feels like every aspect of work is becoming more digitally integrated. What other major shifts are on their radar?
Close behind digital access is the increasing cost of living. That's hitting home for 50% of employers. They see it as a key economic trend affecting their businesses.
Okay, the economy playing a big role.
Definitely. And then climate change is front and center, both in terms of efforts to mitigate it, that's 47%, and adapting to its effects, which is 41%.
Right, you can't ignore that.
No. These environmental considerations are clearly gaining significant traction in business planning.
Absolutely. You can see the real-world impacts of climate change almost daily now. What about changes in the workforce itself? Demographics.
That's another crucial area. Aging and declining working age populations are expected to transform businesses for 40% of employers, mainly in higher income economies.
Interesting.
And it's interesting to contrast this with the fact that only 25% anticipate transformation due to expanding working age populations, which are mostly concentrated in lower income countries.
So, opposite trends in different places.
Exactly. And finally, geopolitical tensions and the increasing fragmentation of the global economy that's expected to impact about a third of organizations, around 34%.
So a really diverse set of powerful forces at play. And it sounds like these aren't just minor tweaks. They're expected to drive quite significant shifts
Oh, absolutely.
in the types of jobs we'll see emerging and, well, disappearing.
Precisely. These trends are predicted to have a dual effect, fueling rapid growth in certain sectors and causing significant decline in others. It's a real churn.
Now, when we talk about the future of work, technology is always a central theme. AI, automation. What insights does the report offer there?
Unsurprisingly, technology is identified as a massive catalyst for change, specifically artificial intelligence and information processing technologies. They're projected to have the most substantial impact.
Oh,
A
substantial.
remarkable 86% of employers anticipate transformation in this area.
86%, that's huge.
It really is. And robots and autonomous systems also feature prominently, with 58% expecting them to be transformative.
Okay. AI is clearly the big one, though. But I know the adoption of these technologies isn't happening at the same pace everywhere, right?
You're absolutely right. The report points out that the IT sector is currently leading the charge in AI adoption, whereas more traditional industries like construction are lagging a bit behind.
Makes sense.
And there's also a notable difference in how quickly generative AI is being adopted between advanced and middle-income economies, where individual use is spreading rapidly, and lower-income economies, where adoption is still, quite limited.
Okay, so AI's influence is definitely growing, but the speed and scale vary. What's the anticipated impact on actual jobs? Are we heading towards a future where robots do everything?
The report offers a more nuanced view, thankfully. While automation is certainly a factor, there's a strong emphasis on the potential of generative AI to actually enhance human skills and performance.
Enhance? Okay. How so?
Think of it as empowering employees with less specialized skills to handle more complex tasks, or giving highly skilled professionals access to advanced tools for more efficient problem solving.
So the focus should be on how we can work with AI to be more effective rather than just fearing job displacement.
Exactly. The report really underscores that prioritizing the enhancement of human capabilities is crucial if we want to prevent a widening of inequality.
Right.
The danger lies in solely focusing on replacing human work, which could lead to significant negative social and economic consequences.
That's a really important distinction to make. Now, you also mentioned robots and autonomous systems. That's another area that sparks a lot of discussion.
Yes, and 58% of employers foresee significant transformation from those technologies. And interestingly, related to AI, there's a huge surge in demand for generative AI training.
Oh, really?
Yeah, data from Coursera shows substantial increases in enrollments, both from individuals looking to grasp the fundamentals, learn prompt engineering,
Or try basic.
and from businesses focused on practical applications in the workplace, like using AI and tools like Excel.
Practical stuff.
Exactly. What's particularly interesting are the regional differences. In the U.S., it seems more driven by individual initiative, whereas in India, corporate sponsorship is a major driver for that training.
Huh. Fascinating to see those different approaches to AI learning across different regions. Let's pivot a bit and discuss those economic shifts you mentioned, the cost of living and geopolitical tensions. How are these impacting the job landscape?
Well, that increasing cost of living is a major concern for half of the employers surveyed, even with anticipated reductions in inflation down the line.
Still a worry then.
Yeah, this economic pressure creates a complex scenario for job creation. While some jobs might emerge, the report also anticipates the displacement of around 1.6 million jobs globally, specifically due to slower overall economic growth.
Oof, 1.6 million. So even if inflation eases, the lingering effects on growth could still lead to job losses in certain areas.
That seems to be the concern, yes. Slower growth has consequences.
Okay. What about the impact of those geopolitical tensions? You mentioned fragmentation.
Right, geoeconomic fragmentation and geopolitical tensions. They're expected to transform business models for about a third of organizations. We're seeing more restrictions on trade and investment, as well as an increase in government subsidies and industrial policies, sort of countries looking inward more.
And how does that affect companies' operations?
Here's a key insight. Employers who anticipate significant transformation due to these trends are actually more likely to both offshore and reshore their operations.
Both. That seems counterintuitive.
It suggests a really complex reevaluation of supply chains, doesn't it? Where companies choose to operate in a more fractured global landscape is becoming a much more strategic, maybe even diversified decision.
That makes sense. Businesses strategically adjusting to navigate a more complex international environment. And I guess where a business is located and who its major trading partners are will influence the extent of this impact.
Absolutely. Regions with significant trade volumes with either the U.S. or China, or both, they tend to expect a greater degree of transformation from these geoeconomic trends.
Okay, let's shift our focus to the green transition. We hear so much about the urgent need for a more sustainable economy. How is that shaping the job market, according to this report?
The drive towards climate change mitigation and adaptation is definitely generating significant momentum. A lot of positive movement there.
Good.
We're seeing a growing demand for what we often call green jobs. Roles like renewable energy engineers, environmental engineers, and specialists in electric and autonomous vehicles. They're all featured in the top 15 fastest growing jobs.
Top 15, okay.
So the shift towards a greener economy isn't just about reducing our environmental footprint. It's also creating significant new employment opportunities.
That's really encouraging news. So this transition isn't just about cutting back, it's also about building a new sustainable job market.
Precisely. And it's not solely about highly specialized engineering roles either.
Oh.
There's also a rising emphasis on environmental stewardship as a fundamental skill. For the first time, it's broken into the top 10 fastest growing skills identified in the report.
Environmental stewardship as a skill. Interesting.
Yeah, it suggests a broader recognition and integration of sustainability principles across a wider range of roles, not just the obviously green ones.
That signals a welcome shift towards environmental responsibility becoming a more mainstream part of various professions. Now, let's turn to those demographic shifts you mentioned earlier. How are aging and growing populations influencing the job landscape?
Well, these demographic shifts are presenting really distinct challenges and opportunities in different parts of the world. Higher income economies are predominantly grappling with aging and declining working age population.
Right, we hear about that a lot.
And this has significant implications for how companies manage talent, the increasing need for educators and mentors, and a growing demand in healthcare and education sectors.
Which jobs specifically?
We see this reflected in the projected growth of roles like nursing professionals and tertiary or higher education teachers. They're expected to grow quite a bit.
So a potential tightening of the workforce in some regions, coupled with increased demand in specific care and education sectors. What about the economies with expanding working age populations, the opposite trend?
Yes, in lower income countries, the working age population is growing substantially. By 2050, these nations are projected to account for a majority, 59% of the global working age population.
59%. That's a huge shift.
It is. And this presents a potential demographic dividend, where a large young workforce could fuel economic growth.
But there's a but, isn't there?
There is. It also carries a significant risk of insufficient job creation in these emerging economies. The report highlights that a staggering 1.2 billion young people in emerging economies will reach working age in the next decade.
1.2 billion.
While the job market is only expected to generate about a third of that many new jobs. That's a really critical challenge.
That's a stark statistic and really underscores the urgent need for creating sufficient economic opportunities in those regions to absorb that growing workforce.
Wow. Now let's get down to specifics. What does all of this mean for the actual jobs we'll see? What are the projections for job growth and decline globally by 2030? Globally, the report projects a net increase of 7%, which translates to roughly 78 million new jobs by 2030.
Okay, a net increase. That sounds positive.
It is, but this overall figure masks a significant amount of churn in the labor market.
Churn.
Yeah, an estimated 170 million new jobs will be created, while 92 million jobs are expected to be displaced.
Whoa, so 170 million created, 92 million lost.
Exactly. That means about 22% of today's formal jobs are likely to undergo a significant change. That's nearly a quarter of the market shifting.
Okay, so a lot of movement happening beneath that overall growth figure. Let's talk about the jobs that are projected to grow the fastest in percentage terms. What kind of roles are leading that expansion?
Leading the way in terms of percentage growth are predominantly technology-related roles. No big surprise there, maybe?
Like what?
Big data specialists, fintech engineers, that's financial technology engineers, AI and machine learning specialists, and software and application developers.
The usual tech suspects.
Pretty much. We're also seeing rapid growth in those green economy jobs we mentioned, autonomous and EV specialists, environmental engineers, renewable energy engineers.
Right, the green transition driving growth.
And security-focused roles, security management specialists, information security analysts. Also high on the list are data warehousing specialists, UI/UX designers,
User experience, yeah.
IoT specialists, Internet of Things, data analysts, scientists, and DevOps engineers. The key takeaway here is the strong demand for highly specialized tech skills and roles supporting the digital and green transitions.
So a very clear emphasis on both cutting-edge technology and sustainability-focused professions. What about the jobs with the largest growth in absolute numbers? Those might tell a slightly different story about the sheer volume of new positions.
You're right. Percentage growth isn't the whole story. In absolute terms, we're looking at roles like farm workers, delivery drivers, construction workers, salespersons, and food processing workers, seeing the biggest increases in sheer numbers.
More traditional roles in some cases?
Yes, and interestingly, care economy jobs like nursing professionals, social work and counseling professionals, and personal care aides are also projected for substantial growth in numbers, driven by those demographic trends we discussed earlier.
The aging population effect.
Exactly. We'll also likely see a significant increase in tertiary and secondary education teachers. This highlights the growth in both high-skilled tech areas and essential human-centric roles in care, services, and education.
That paints a picture of both the advanced tech sector and essential service industries expanding significantly in terms of job volume. Now, for the other side of the coin, which jobs are expected to decline the fastest, what kind of roles are most at risk of displacement?
The report identifies several roles facing the most rapid decline. Think about tasks being automated.
Okay.
Data entry clerks, administrative and executive secretaries, accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll clerks, and client information and customer service workers.
A lot of clerical and admin roles.
Yes. We're also looking at declines from material recording and stock-keeping clerks, Bank tellers, cashiers, and ticket clerks, postal service clerks, legal secretaries, telemarketers,
Right, automation and digital alternatives hitting hard there.
claims adjusters, security guards, printing trades workers, graphic designers, and even business services and administration managers. It's clear how many of these declining roles are being significantly impacted by automation and digitalization, echoing those initial transformative trends we discussed.
It's quite evident how automation and digitalization are directly impacting many of those roles. It's important to note, as we touched on earlier, that these growth and decline projections really tie back into those broader macro trends we covered at the beginning: technology fueling tech roles, demographics driving care and education.
Absolutely. Climate change driving green jobs.
Right. These aren't isolated changes, they're all interconnected.
Exactly. These shifts in the job market are a direct consequence of those fundamental changes in the global landscape we initially outlined.
So, as the job market undergoes this significant evolution, the skills we need to thrive are also going to change considerably. What's the outlook on that front? What skills do we need?
Well, the report estimates that a substantial 39% of core skills are expected to change by 2030.
39%, nearly 40%.
Yeah, that represents a really significant evolution in the skills landscape. It means a large portion of the workforce will need to adapt and acquire new abilities. It's not minor tweaking.
Almost 40%. That's a clear signal that continuous learning and skill development will be crucial for most people. Which specific skills are expected to become more important in this evolving landscape?
Skills related to technology are leading the way, as you'd expect. AI and big data, networks and cybersecurity, and technological literacy are all projected to become significantly more crucial.
Okay, the hard tech skills.
But importantly, it's not just about technical skills. Crucially, creative thinking, resilience, flexibility, and agility, along with curiosity and lifelong learning. These are also expected to gain prominence.
The softer, more human skills.
Exactly. Analytical thinking, systems thinking, leadership, and social influence, too. And interestingly, environmental stewardship also makes the list of growing skills, reflecting that broader integration of sustainability we talked about.
It's a compelling mix of both the technical expertise needed to navigate the digital age and those uniquely human, adaptable skills that allow us to thrive in uncertain environments. What about the other side of the coin? Which skills are expected to become less important as we move towards 2030?
On the decline, the report points to manual dexterity, endurance, and precision. Also, perhaps surprisingly, more foundational skills like reading, writing, and mathematics are seeing a decrease in relative importance.
Or relative importance. Okay, not unimportant, but less crucial compared to others.
Exactly. Even dependability and attention to detail are projected to become less critical in some roles compared to these growing skills. Notably, physical abilities show a net negative decline overall, reflecting the increasing automation of physical tasks.
So while foundational skills are still needed,
Of course, you still need them, but their relative importance compared to those rapidly growing analytical, creative, and tech skills is shifting.
that shift really underscores the increasing automation of physical tasks and the changing nature of many jobs. It's interesting to see even foundational skills potentially decreasing in relative importance, though I imagine a basic level of literacy and numeracy will remain essential across most professions.
Absolutely. While their relative importance may shift, a solid foundation in literacy and numeracy will undoubtedly remain vital for the vast majority of roles. The report also highlights that the evolution of skills isn't uniform across all industries.
How so?
For instance, while AI and big data skills are expected to grow in importance across almost all sectors, the projected growth is lower in areas like agriculture, food, and leisure.
Okay.
Conversely, the demand for environmental stewardship skills is growing more rapidly in specific sectors that are more directly impacted by climate change, like energy or utilities.
It makes perfect sense that different industries will experience different rates and types of skill evolution based on their specific needs and challenges. The report also delves into something called the importance gap and proficiency gap between skills required for growing and declining jobs. Can you explain what those mean?
Yeah, this is a really insightful part of the analysis. The importance gap essentially measures how much more essential a particular skill is for jobs that are growing compared to those that are declining.
Okay, how crucial is it?
Right. And the proficiency gap, on the other hand, indicates the level of expertise required for each skill in those growing jobs versus the declining ones. So not just important, but how good do you need to be?
Got it. And what does the report highlight there?
What's really striking is that resilience, flexibility, and agility stand out as the biggest differentiator. They rank significantly higher in both importance and the level of proficiency needed for growing roles.
Resilience and adaptability key differentiators.
Absolutely. Programming and technological literacy also show substantial gaps, underscoring their importance for future job growth. So those adaptable and tech-related skills are absolutely key for individuals looking to transition from declining roles into growth areas.
So those adaptable and tech-focused skills are really the crucial bridges for navigating the changing job market.
Exactly. Other skills like resource management and operations and quality control also show marked gaps, indicating their increasing value in growth sectors.
What about analytical thinking?
Interestingly, while analytical thinking is highly important for growing roles, skills like manual dexterity, endurance, and precision show a difference primarily in proficiency.
Meaning?
It suggests that where manual skills remain relevant, a higher level of specialization combined with technological understanding and problem-solving abilities will be increasingly necessary. It's not just about doing the task, but understanding the context.
Makes sense. Any skills less important for growth?
The report notes that service orientation and customer service is the only skill with a similar or even lesser requirement in growing jobs compared to declining ones, perhaps reflecting some automation in that space.
That's a fascinating breakdown of the evolving skills landscape. Now, with the rapid advancement of generative AI, there's a lot of discussion about its potential to replace various human skills. What insights does the report offer on this? Is Gen AI taking over?
Well, the report includes an analysis from Indeed that looks specifically at the substitution capacity of generative AI for a wide range of skills. The key finding, for now at least, is that the majority of skills,
Yeah.
particularly those requiring physical execution and nuanced human judgment, things like empathy, active listening, manual dexterity, currently have relatively low capacity for substitution by Gen AI.
Okay, so the human touch still matters.
Very much so. Gen AI's strengths at this stage lie more in areas that involve leveraging theoretical knowledge and digital manipulation. Think data mining, machine learning applications, even tasks related to reading, writing, mathematics, and multilingualism, where it can assist with things like summarizing information, generating text or translation. So, augmentation of human skills seems to be the more likely near-term impact rather than complete replacement for most roles.
So, for the time being at least, it appears that generative AI is more likely to become a powerful tool to enhance our abilities rather than a direct replacement for a broad range of human skills. A collaborator, maybe.
That's the current assessment. While Gen AI can certainly assist and augment human work, skills that require complex understanding, sensory processing, and interpersonal interaction still heavily rely on human capabilities.
Which again emphasizes the need for training.
Absolutely. Training that focuses on both utilizing AI tools effectively, things like prompt engineering and building a broader understanding of AI's capabilities and limitations, is crucial.
This all points to a significant and ongoing need for reskilling and upskilling the workforce. What's the current state of these efforts, and what are the future projections according to the report? Are companies stepping up?
Encouragingly, yes. The report indicates that 50% of the workforce has now participated in some form of training. That's up from 41% in 2023.
That's a decent jump.
It is. And this growth in training participation is fairly consistent across most industries, suggesting a growing awareness of the importance of continuous learning.
But not everywhere.
Right. A few sectors, such as agriculture and real estate, have actually seen a slight decline in training completion rates. So it's mostly positive, but not universal.
So progress is being made in terms of workforce training, but it's not happening uniformly across all sectors. What about the anticipated outlook for training in the near future? What do employers expect?
Looking ahead, employers anticipate that for a typical group of 100 workers within their organizations, about 29 will be upskilled within their current roles to take on new responsibilities.
Okay, nearly a third getting upskilled in place.
And another 19 might be upskilled and redeployed into entirely different roles within the company. So retraining for a new internal job.
That adds up to almost half getting some form of upskilling or reskilling.
Yes, but there's a somewhat concerning flip side. About 11 workers out of that 100 are projected to be unlikely to receive the necessary reskilling or upskilling.
11% left behind.
Potentially, yes, putting their future job prospects at risk. This highlights a potential gap we need to address to ensure a smoother and more equitable transition for everyone in the workforce.
That figure really underscores the importance of targeted efforts to ensure that everyone has access to the training they need to adapt to these changes. Who is primarily expected to shoulder the responsibility for funding all this? Is it companies, government?
The report suggests that employers primarily expect to fund their own training initiatives. That's the main source.
Okay.
Government funding appears to play a more significant role in specific sectors, accommodation and food services, the public sector, education likely reflecting targeted public policy initiatives in those areas. But mostly, it's on the companies.
And what are the main motivating factors for companies to invest in training their workforce? Why do they do it?
The top expected benefits that drive companies to invest are enhancing overall productivity, improving their competitive edge in the market, and importantly, boosting the retention of their existing talent, keeping good people.
Makes sense. And the biggest hurdles they face in implementing these programs, what stops them?
The main barriers they identify are, first, a lack of readily available skills in the local labor market, the skills gap itself.
Right. Hard to train if the baseline isn't there.
And second, internal organizational culture or resistance to change within the company itself, getting buy-in and overcoming inertia.
The cultural challenge.
Exactly. It seems that overcoming that internal inertia and addressing those external skills gaps will be crucial for successful and widespread reskilling and upskilling efforts.
It sounds like a multifaceted challenge involving both internal company dynamics and external labor market factors. Finally, how are companies generally strategizing their workforce planning in response to the increasing capabilities of AI specifically?
Their strategies are quite varied, reflecting the complex impact of AI. The most common approaches include reskilling and upskilling their current employees to work effectively alongside AI,
Working with the tools.
actively hiring new talent with specific AI-related skills, reorienting their overall business models to leverage the opportunities presented by AI.
Okay, bigger strategic shifts.
And significantly, a substantial portion, around 41%, also anticipate potential reductions in their workforce where AI can automate existing tasks.
41% anticipate reductions. That's quite high.
It is. That figure really underscores the dual nature of AI's impact, creating new opportunities while also posing a real risk of displacement in certain areas.
That figure on potential workforce reductions certainly highlights the critical need for proactive planning and reskilling initiatives from both companies and individuals. Let's quickly touch on a couple other important areas. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, and compensation.
Yeah.
What are the key insights from the report there?
Well, DEI remains a significant priority for employers globally, which is good to see. The top areas of focus they've identified are promoting gender equality, integrating individuals with disabilities into the workforce, engaging Gen Z youth, and retaining and utilizing the skills of older workers.
A broad range of DEI goals.
Yes, though it's worth noting there were some regional variations in these priorities, reflecting different societal contexts and challenges.
Okay. And on the compensation front, are wages going up?
The outlook is somewhat positive there. Over half of employers anticipate increasing the share of their revenue that is allocated to wages,
Driven by?
primarily driven by the need to align wages with productivity and overall performance, and also to remain competitive in attracting and retaining talent in this shifting market.
Competition for skills driving wages up.
Seems to be a factor. Other factors influencing compensation decisions include efforts to reduce existing inequalities and comply with government regulations.
So a potential trend towards increased wages in many sectors, which is certainly welcome news for workers. What about how employers are approaching the hiring process itself? You mentioned skills.
Yes, there's a noticeable and growing shift towards what's being called skills-based hiring. Employers are increasingly prioritizing actual work experience and demonstrable skills assessments over traditional qualifications like university degrees.
Less focus on the degree, more on what you can do.
Exactly. Data from ADP research in the U.S. further supports this, highlighting a clear wage premium for both skills and accumulated experience. Median wages generally increase in roles requiring more preparation and expertise the higher job zone levels.
So skills and experience pay off.
They do. Though, interestingly, this data also reveals some persistent gender disparities in the magnitude of these wage premiums. So there's still work to do there on equity.
It's encouraging, though, to see a move towards valuing concrete skills and experience more directly in the hiring process. That could potentially create more opportunities for a wider and more diverse pool of candidates, right?
Right. Indeed. And the report suggests that adopting this skills-first approach can significantly broaden the available talent pool for those in-demand future roles we've been discussing. It opens doors.
Well, this has been a truly in-depth exploration of the Future of Jobs Report 2025. A lot to digest.
Definitely a lot packed in there.
To quickly recap the key takeaways, it's clear that technology, particularly the rapid advancements in AI,
That's huge.
alongside significant economic shifts, the ongoing green transition, and evolving demographic landscapes, are poised to significantly reshape the world of work in the coming years.
Absolutely. And the main message for individuals, really, is that adaptability, a commitment to continuous learning, and the proactive development of skills in key areas. AI, big data, critical thinking, creativity, resilience. These are going to be absolutely paramount for navigating this evolving landscape.
Couldn't agree more. And while some job roles will undoubtedly face decline due to these shifts, it's also clear that many exciting new opportunities are emerging, particularly in the technology and sustainability-focused sectors of the economy.
There's definitely growth alongside the disruption.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought for you, the listener. Considering all these potential shifts and the skills that will be increasingly valued, how will you proactively prepare for these changes?
Yeah, what concrete steps will you take to develop the necessary skills and strategically position yourself to thrive in this evolving world of work?
It's worth some reflection. We really encourage you to explore the full report if you want even more detail, and take some time to think about your own career trajectory in light of these crucial insights. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.